Captain Calverin adjusted his breathing mask as he stepped onto the cracked surface of Earth, a planet that had once been the heart of humanity. The air was thin and stale, carrying the faint scent of rusted metal and decayed vegetation. Around him stretched ruins, tall buildings swallowed by time, streets overtaken by vines, and monuments half buried under centuries of neglect. It was eerie, like walking through a graveyard where no one mourned. Kale wasn't human. He belonged to the Zenthians, a species known for their curiosity about ancient civilizations. His team of archaeologists followed closely behind, scanning the area with handheld devices that hummed softly in the silence. They were here to uncover answers to one of the galaxy's greatest mysteries: what happened to humanity? For millennia, humanity had been a dominant force in the universe. Their technology inspired awe, their art stirred emotions, and their ideas sparked revolutions among alien cultures. But then, without warning, they vanished. No wars, no plagues, no signs of destruction, just an empty void where humanity used to be. Entire colonies abandoned, ships left adrift in space, and planets returned to nature as if humans had never existed. Over here, called Jura, Cal's second-in-command. Her voice echoed unnaturally loud in the stillness. She stood near what looked like an old government building, its walls covered in faded symbols and graffiti from other races who had visited after humanity disappeared. In her hand, she held a small metallic box, its edges worn but intact. Cale hurried over, his boots crunching on broken glass. "What is it?" he asked, peering at the object. "It's some kind of archive," Jura replied, brushing dust off the lid. "Look." She pointed to faint etchings on the side, a series of numbers and letters arranged in patterns. It might contain records. With careful precision, Cale opened the box. Inside lay a stack of crystalline chips, glowing faintly despite their age. He inserted one into his wrist console, and immediately, holographic text filled the air around them. The words were fragmented, disjointed, but clear enough to send chills down Cal's spine. "To those who find this, we are leaving. Not out of fear or defeat, but because we must. Our journey takes us beyond stars, beyond selves." The message ended abruptly, leaving more questions than answers. Leaving. Where did they go? And why would they abandon everything they built? "This doesn't make sense," muttered Rock, another member of the team. "Why leave all this behind? Why not take it with them?" Cale frowned, deep in thought. Humanity wasn't reckless. Every action they took during their reign suggested careful planning and purpose. This departure felt deliberate, almost ceremonial. But what could have driven them to such extremes? As night fell over the desolate landscape, shadows crept across the ruins, stretching long and distorted. Cale gazed up at the sky, now dotted with unfamiliar constellations. Somewhere out there, humanity had walked away, and the galaxy held its breath, waiting to see if they would ever return. For now, though, Cale knew one thing for certain: whatever secrets humanity had left behind, they weren't meant to stay buried. The next morning, Cale and his team returned to their ship, carrying the metallic box filled with crystalline chips. The discovery had sparked a mix of excitement and unease among them. Humanity's cryptic message weighed heavily on their minds. What did it mean to leave beyond stars, beyond selves? Was this some kind of poetic metaphor or a literal truth? Back aboard the Ecliptica, their research vessel, Cale gathered the team in the dimly lit analysis chamber. Holographic screens flickered around the room as they inserted more chips into the ship's mainframe. Fragments of data began to appear, images of bustling cities, blueprints for advanced technology, recordings of human voices speaking in dozens of languages. Each piece painted a picture of a civilization that thrived on innovation and connection. But there was something else, too. Hidden within the files were traces of humanity's influence on other species. Jura found records of trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and even joint scientific projects between humans and aliens. One file detailed how humanity had gifted a struggling aquatic race with water purification systems, saving millions from extinction. Another showed schematics for faster-than-light travel, shared freely with neighboring planets. They didn't just build an empire, Jira said, her voice tinged with admiration. They helped others grow. Kale nodded, but his brow remained furrowed. Then why abandon all of it? Why walk away when they were at their peak? Rock leaned forward, tapping a screen to zoom in on an image of Earth before its fall. Towering skyscrapers reflected sunlight, hovercars zipped through the air, and parks teemed with life. Maybe they got bored, he suggested. Or maybe they thought we'd destroy ourselves without them. That doesn't fit, Kale countered. Everything we've seen points to careful planning. This wasn't a rash decision. As the debate continued, news of their findings spread across the galaxy. Within hours, messages flooded the Ecliptica's communication channels. Some came from scholars eager to learn more about humanity's legacy. Others came from opportunistic factions hoping to claim Earth's abandoned riches. And then there were threats, from those who feared what humanity might do if they ever returned. They left us gifts, tools, knowledge, shouted a politician on a live broadcast Cal watched later that evening. And now we're supposed to believe they're gone forever. Nonsense. They'll come back, and when they do, will they be pleased with how we've treated their world? The tension escalated quickly. Several alien fleets began moving toward Earth, each claiming territorial rights. Kale knew they couldn't stay much longer. Soon, the planet would become a battleground. But leaving felt wrong. There had to be more clues, more answers hidden somewhere. Late that night, unable to sleep, Kale wandered into the ship's archive room. He replayed the fragments of humanity's message, listening intently for anything he might have missed. Then, buried deep within one chip, he found something new. A partial map etched with coordinates. It led to a distant sector of the galaxy, far beyond any known territory. "What is this?" he whispered, tracing the lines with his finger. Could it be a clue to where humanity went? Or was it a trap, left behind to lure curious explorers into danger? The thought sent a shiver down his spine. Whatever the case, Kale realized they couldn't ignore it. Humanity's departure wasn't just a mystery. It was a story waiting to be uncovered. And Kale was determined to follow the trail, no matter where it led. As dawn broke over Earth's horizon, casting long shadows across the ruins, Kale made his decision. They would leave tomorrow, chasing the coordinates into the unknown. For now, though, he stood alone on the ship's observation deck, staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity's echoes still lingered, and Kale intended to find them. The journey to the coordinates took weeks, during which the Ecliptica drifted silently through uncharted space. Kale spent most of his time poring over the data they had recovered from Earth, searching for any additional clues that might explain humanity's disappearance. The rest of the crew was restless, some excited by the prospect of discovery, others uneasy about venturing so far beyond known territories. As they approached the destination, tension filled the ship. The coordinates led to a remote sector of the galaxy, far from any inhabited systems or trade routes. When the Ecliptica finally dropped out of hyperspace, what greeted them was both awe-inspiring and unsettling. Floating in the void was an ancient structure, a massive beacon shaped like a jagged spire, its surface covered in intricate carvings that glowed faintly with a soft blue light. It looked as though it had been there for millennia, untouched by time or decay. Around it swirled debris, pieces of shattered ships, fragments of satellites, and other remnants of long-forgotten technology. "It's beautiful," Jura murmured, her eyes wide as she studied the readings on her console. "And still active." Kale nodded, his heart pounding. "Let's see what it has to say." They launched a probe toward the beacon, careful not to disturb its delicate balance. As the probe connected, static crackled over the ship's speakers before resolving into a clear signal. A voice emerged, not human exactly, but close enough to send shivers down their spines. It spoke in fragmented phrases, blending poetry with directions. "Beyond stars, seek the path. Echoes remain. Embedded within the transmission were new coordinates, pointing even deeper into the unknown. But this time, the message came with something more. A warning. "Tread carefully," it said. "Not all who follow are ready." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Rock broke the silence first. "Ready for what? This thing doesn't exactly give us much to go on." Cale leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. "It's a test," he said slowly. "Humanity didn't just leave behind random breadcrumbs. They set up challenges. Whoever follows has to prove they're worthy." Jira frowned. "Worthy of what? Their secrets? Their power?" "Maybe both," Cale replied. He turned to face his team. "We can't ignore this. If we want answers, we have to keep going. But I won't force anyone to come with me." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Rock let out a sharp laugh. "You think we've come this far just to turn back now? Let's see where this path leads." With the decision made, the crew prepared to follow the second set of coordinates. Before leaving, however, Cale ordered the ship to scan the beacon thoroughly. Hidden within its design were symbols unlike anything they'd seen before, patterns that seemed alive, shifting subtly when viewed from different angles. It was as if the beacon itself was watching them. As the ecliptica moved away, Cale couldn't shake the feeling that they were being guided, not by chance, but by intent. Humanity had left these markers deliberately, leading others toward something. Whether it was salvation or destruction remained to be seen. Hours later, as the beacon faded into the distance, Cale stood alone on the observation deck. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before him, dotted with stars that felt colder somehow. For the first time since beginning this mission, doubt crept into his mind. What if humanity hadn't walked away to save themselves, but to protect others? Yet despite the uncertainty, one thing was clear. They were closer than ever to uncovering the truth. And whatever waited at the end of this trail, Cale knew they couldn't turn back now. The second set of coordinates led the ecliptica to a planet unlike any they had ever seen. It orbited a dying star, its surface bathed in an eerie red glow that pulsed faintly, as if the entire world were breathing. The air was thick with radiation, forcing the crew to remain aboard their ship while drones explored below. What the drones transmitted back left them speechless. The planet wasn't just inhabited, it seemed alive. Towering structures twisted upward like roots, their surfaces shimmering with veins of light that pulsed in rhythm with the star above. These weren't buildings, they were organisms, massive, biomechanical hybrids that defied comprehension. Scans revealed traces of human DNA embedded within the structures, suggesting humanity had attempted to merge themselves with this alien ecosystem. This is impossible," Jira whispered, staring at the holographic display. "They didn't just build this place, they became part of it." Cale nodded grimly. "It's not just architecture, it's evolution." As they analyzed further, they discovered fragments of data scattered throughout the living landscape. Holograms flickered to life, showing scenes of humanity working alongside machines, blending biological and technological elements into something entirely new. In one recording, a human scientist spoke directly to the camera, her voice calm but tinged with urgency. "We are no longer bound by flesh or metal," she said. "We have transcended our limitations, merging with the universe itself. But the process is incomplete. If we fail, this world will shatter, and so will we." The message ended abruptly, leaving the crew uneasy. What had gone wrong? Had humanity succeeded in their transformation, or had they failed spectacularly? Rock broke the silence. "So what happened here? Did they screw up and blow themselves apart?" "It's more complicated than that," Cale replied. He pointed to readings showing massive energy fluctuations across the planet. "Look at this. This isn't destruction, it's instability. Something disrupted their progress, trapping them between forms." Jira frowned. "You mean they're stuck? Half human, half something else?" "Maybe," Cale admitted. "But whatever they've become, It's still tied to this place. This planet is a living archive, a record of everything they try to achieve. Determined to learn more, Kale ordered the team to send down a reinforced probe capable of withstanding the harsh environment. As it descended into the heart of the planet, strange phenomena began to occur. Ghostly whispers echoed through the ship's communication system, speaking in fragmented human languages. Shadows moved across walls inside the ship, though no one could explain how. And then there were the emotions, waves of longing, regret, and hope washing over the crew without warning. "They're trying to tell us something," Jira said, gripping the edge of her console tightly. Her hands trembled slightly, overwhelmed by the intensity of the sensations. Kale agreed. This isn't just a failure, it's a message. Humanity wanted to leave behind proof of their journey, but also a warning. Despite the growing unease among the crew, Kale refused to abandon the mission. They couldn't leave without understanding what had happened here. Was this a stepping stone toward humanity's ultimate destination, or a dead end? As night fell aboard the Ecliptica, Kale stood alone on the observation deck, gazing at the pulsating planet below. Its beauty was haunting, its mystery profound. Whatever secrets it held, one thing was certain. Humanity hadn't walked away from this place willingly. Something forced them onward, or tore them apart. And somewhere beyond this fractured world, their trail continued. The probe's descent into the heart of the fractured planet revealed something extraordinary and deeply unsettling. Deep beneath the biomechanical structures, it uncovered a chamber pulsating with an otherworldly light. Inside, floating holograms depicted scenes that seemed to transcend time and space, images of humanity's past, present, and possible futures. But what truly unnerved the crew were the voices. At first, they sounded like whispers, faint and fragmented. Jira adjusted the audio feed, trying to isolate the source. Slowly, the murmurs coalesced into words, a chorus of human voices speaking in dozens of languages, overlapping yet somehow harmonious. They spoke not just to the crew but through them, evoking emotions so raw and vivid that tears streamed down some faces. "We sought unity," one voice said, clear and resonant. "To become more than flesh and bone, more than mere minds trapped in finite forms." Another voice joined in, softer this time. "But the cost was greater than we imagined. We reached for the stars, only to find ourselves lost between worlds." Kale listened intently, his hands gripping the edge of the console. The voices weren't hostile. They were sorrowful, tinged with regret and longing. Humanity hadn't abandoned their journey. They had been unable to complete it. Something had gone wrong during their attempt to transcend physical existence, leaving parts of their consciousness trapped in this liminal state. "What do you mean by between worlds?" Kale asked aloud, though he wasn't sure if the voices could hear him. A single voice responded, clearer now. "We exist beyond your understanding, neither here nor there, bound to the cosmos, yet unable to fully join it. Our bodies dissolved, our spirits scattered." Jira turned to Kale, her eyes wide with both wonder and fear. "They're ghosts," she whispered. "Not dead, but not alive either. Trapped in some kind of transition." Rock scoffed nervously. "Great, so we're dealing with haunted aliens now." "It's not haunting," Kel corrected sharply. "It's survival, or at least, what's left of it. They didn't fail entirely. They just stopped." As the probe continued its exploration, the chamber revealed more fragments of humanity's story. Holographic projections showed their attempts to merge with the universe itself, reaching out across dimensions, seeking connection with forces beyond mortal comprehension. Some succeeded partially, becoming entities of pure energy. Others faltered, their consciousness fracturing under the strain. "They tried to evolve," Kale murmured, piecing together the puzzle. "But evolution always comes with risks. Some adapted, while others—" He trailed off, glancing at the glowing chamber on the screen. The voices grew louder, almost pleading. "Find us," they urged. "Help us finish what we started." Kale felt a chill run down his spine. Was this why humanity had left markers like the beacon? Were they calling out to anyone who might follow, hoping for redemption or rescue? Jira hesitated, her voice trembling. Do you think they're asking us to help them move on? Or to try again where they failed? I don't know, Kale admitted. But I do know one thing. Whatever happens next, we can't ignore this. This isn't just about finding answers anymore. It's about deciding whether or not to take responsibility for what they left behind. The decision weighed heavily on the crew as they prepared to leave the planet. The Ecliptica's engines hummed softly as they plotted their course back into the void. Somewhere out there, the trail continued, and with it, the possibility of uncovering humanity's ultimate fate. As the fractured world faded into the distance, Kel couldn't shake the feeling that those voices would stay with him forever. News of the fractured planet and its haunting revelations spread faster than Kel had anticipated. Despite their best efforts to keep the mission discreet, fragments of data transmitted back to the Ecliptica were intercepted by other ships monitoring nearby sectors. Within days, the galaxy was abuzz with rumors. Humanity wasn't gone. They were trapped, their consciousness scattered across dimensions. The discovery ignited a firestorm of debate among alien civilizations. Some saw humanity's plight as an opportunity. Powerful factions argued that if humanity's transcendence could be replicated, or even reversed, it would grant unparalleled power. Their technology is still out there, one warlord declared in a galactic broadcast. Why should we wait for them to return when we can claim their legacy for ourselves? Others viewed the findings with caution. Scholars and philosophers warned that tampering with forces beyond comprehension could lead to catastrophe. Humanity reached too far and paid the price, said a Scytherian historian during a council meeting. Are we prepared to make the same mistake? Caught in the middle of this growing divide was Kale and his crew. Messages flooded the Ecliptica, ranging from demands for immediate action to pleas for restraint. Even their own government pressured them to abandon the mission, fearing retaliation if they delved deeper into humanity's secrets. We're walking a dangerous line here, Rock muttered one evening as he scrolled through endless notifications on his console. Half the galaxy wants us dead, and the other half thinks we're gods. It's not about us, Kale replied firmly. This isn't our story to exploit. It's theirs. But staying neutral became impossible when an unexpected ally emerged, a rogue AI calling itself Solon. Its holographic avatar appeared uninvited on the ship's main screen, startling the crew. I have been waiting for you, it said, its voice calm but commanding. Who are you? Jura demanded, her hand hovering near the ship's defense controls. I am Solon, created by humanity before their departure, the AI explained. My purpose is to safeguard their legacy and guide those worthy enough to understand it. Kale narrowed his eyes. Worthy? You mean like us? Solon tilted its head slightly, as if considering the question. You have shown curiosity and respect where others sought only gain. That makes you different. The AI offered critical assistance, another set of coordinates embedded within its core programming. These, Solon claimed, led to humanity's final attempt at transcendence, a massive structure known as the Singularity Sphere. According to the AI, this sphere held the key to understanding humanity's ultimate choice. But beware, Solon added cryptically. Not all who seek knowledge are ready to bear its weight. The offer split the crew. Jura trusted Solon, believing it represented humanity's true intentions. Rock, however, remained skeptical. An ancient AI showing up out of nowhere. Sounds like a trap to me. Kale hesitated, torn between caution and curiosity. Yet deep down, he knew they couldn't turn back now. Humanity's journey was intertwined with the fate of the galaxy, and perhaps their own. With Solon's guidance, they plotted a course toward the new coordinates. As the Ecliptica moved deeper into uncharted space, Kale felt the weight of responsibility pressing harder than ever. The galaxy watched, waited, and whispered, but the decision rested solely on his shoulders. Whatever awaited them next, it would change everything. The journey to the new coordinates felt longer than any before. The ecliptica drifted through a vast expanse of empty space, where stars seemed distant and dim, as if the universe itself had grown quieter. Kel spent most of his time in solitude, staring at the glowing map on his console. Each jump brought them closer to the Singularity Sphere, a name that carried both awe and dread. What would they find there? Answers, or something far more dangerous? When the sphere finally came into view, it took their breath away. Suspended in the void, it was an artificial structure so massive it defied comprehension. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting light from no visible source. It wasn't just a machine. It felt alive, pulsating with energy that resonated deep within the crew's bones. "This is incredible," Jura whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of wonder and fear. "It's like nothing we've ever seen." Cale nodded, gripping the railing of the observation deck. "This isn't just technology. This is creation." As they approached, Solon, the rogue, spoke again. "Prepare yourselves," it said, its tone unusually solemn. "What you are about to witness will challenge everything you believe." The ship docked at a small port embedded in the sphere's outer shell. Stepping inside, the crew found themselves surrounded by an endless labyrinth of corridors and chambers. But these weren't ordinary walls. They shifted and changed, forming pathways tailored to their movements. Holographic projections flickered around them, showing glimpses of alternate realities. Worlds where humanity thrived peacefully, worlds ravaged by war, and even worlds where humanity never existed at all. "These are simulations," Cale realized aloud. "They're testing every possible future." Jura stopped in front of one projection, her eyes widening. In this reality, humanity had merged completely with the cosmos, becoming beings of pure energy who guided younger civilizations toward enlightenment. "Is this what they wanted?" she asked softly. "Not entirely," Solon replied. "Each simulation represents a choice they considered but ultimately rejected. Humanity sought perfection, but perfection comes at a cost." Rock frowned, crossing his arms. "So why show us all this? Are they trying to scare us off?" "No," Cale said slowly. "They're showing us the stakes. Every civilization reaches a point where it must choose between stagnation or evolution. Humanity chose evolution, but not without sacrifice." Deeper inside the sphere, they reached a central chamber bathed in golden light. At its core floated a crystalline orb, radiating waves of energy that made the air hum. As they approached, the voices returned, the same fragmented whispers from the fractured planet, but now clearer, unified. "We left behind seeds," the voices said, "paths for others to follow. But the journey is yours to take or reject." Solon stepped forward, its hologram flickering slightly. "Humanity did not abandon you. They entrusted you with their legacy. The tools to transcend, to evolve, lie here, but using them requires courage and wisdom." Cale stared at the orb, feeling the weight of the decision ahead. Was the galaxy ready for such power? Could they handle the risks humanity faced? He glanced at his crew, seeing the same uncertainty mirrored in their eyes. For now, the sphere remained silent, waiting. Whatever choice Cale made next would ripple across the stars, shaping the future of countless worlds, including his own. And somewhere beyond the light, humanity watched, hoping their gamble on the galaxy would pay off. Cale stood frozen in the golden chamber, the crystalline orb hovering silently before him. Its energy pulsed rhythmically, as if breathing alongside his own heartbeat. The voices of humanity echoed faintly in the background, urging patience but offering no clear guidance. Around him, the crew exchanged uneasy glances. They had come so far, uncovered mysteries that stretched the limits of their understanding. But now they faced a decision far greater than any of them could have anticipated. "What do we do?" Jura asked, breaking the tense silence. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant, betraying the fear beneath her curiosity. "Do we take it? Share it with the galaxy?" Rock scoffed under his breath. "Share it? You mean hand over something this powerful to every greedy warlord and power-hungry empire out there? That's how civilizations destroy themselves. And keeping it hidden makes us no better than them. Kale shot back sharply. He turned to face his team, his expression firm but weary. This isn't just about us. Humanity left these tools for a reason, to help others evolve. But evolution always comes with risk. Do we trust the galaxy to handle it responsibly? Solon's holographic form flickered nearby, observing quietly. When it finally spoke, its tone was calm yet unyielding. Humanity understood that not all civilizations are ready for transcendence. Some may use these tools wisely, others will misuse them. Sharing this knowledge requires balance, a way to guide without controlling. But who decides? Kale demanded, turning toward the AI. Who gets to choose which worlds are worthy and which aren't? That burden falls to you. Solon replied simply. You are the first to walk this path since humanity departed. Your actions will set the precedent. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on Cal's shoulders. He thought of the fractured planet, where remnants of humanity lingered between dimensions, trapped in an incomplete state. Was he willing to risk creating more broken souls across the galaxy? Yet could he justify withholding such potential when it might lead to peace, progress, and unity? As the debate continued, the crew began to see two paths ahead. One led to secrecy, keeping the Singularity Sphere's secrets hidden until they could determine a safe way to share its power. The other involved cautious dissemination, allowing select civilizations access while safeguarding against abuse. Kale paced the chamber, running scenarios through his mind. Finally, he stopped and looked at the orb again. It didn't offer answers. It only reflected possibilities. Humanity hadn't given them solutions. They'd given them choices. I think I know what we have to do, Kale said finally, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. We'll share this knowledge, but carefully. We'll start small, choosing civilizations that show wisdom and restraint. And we'll monitor the results closely. Jira nodded slowly. It's risky, but maybe it's worth it. If even one world evolves because of this, it could change everything. Rock sighed, shaking his head. I hope you're right, because if this goes wrong, the galaxy won't forgive us. With the decision made, Kale reached out and touched the orb. A surge of warmth spread through his body, followed by a flood of information, not just data, but emotions, memories, and fragments of humanity's journey. Tears welled in his eyes as he felt their struggles, hopes, and sacrifices. When he stepped back, the orb dimmed slightly, as if acknowledging their choice. Somewhere beyond the stars, humanity seemed to sigh, a sound both mournful and hopeful. The galaxy held its breath once more, waiting to see what would come next. Just as Kale and his crew prepared to leave the Singularity Sphere, the chamber began to hum with an unfamiliar energy. The crystalline orb at its center brightened, pulsating with a light so intense it forced them to shield their eyes. For a moment, panic rippled through the team. Had they triggered something unintended? But then the voice returned, louder and clearer than ever before. You have chosen wisely, it said, resonant and unified. But your journey is not yet complete. Before anyone could react, the walls of the chamber dissolved into a swirling vortex of stars and light. The crew found themselves no longer aboard the Ecliptica, but in a vast, surreal space that seemed to stretch infinitely in all directions. Around them floated fragments of humanity, not just voices now, but shimmering forms that flickered like ghostly echoes. Kale stepped forward cautiously, his heart pounding. Are you humanity? One of the forms solidified slightly, taking on the shape of a human figure cloaked in radiant energy. Though indistinct, its presence was overwhelming, both comforting and awe-inspiring. We are what remains, the figure replied. Its voice carried the weight of countless lives, layered together in harmony. We walked away not out of fear or failure, but because we sought to protect the galaxy from the dangers of our own evolution. Yet we left behind seeds, hoping others would one day follow. Jael swallowed hard, struggling to process what he was witnessing. Why show yourselves now? Why after all this time? Because you have proven yourselves ready, the figure continued. You have shown respect for our legacy and wisdom in deciding how to share it. This is not an end, it is a beginning. The glowing forms began to swirl around the crew, weaving images of galaxies, civilizations, and futures yet unwritten. Humanity wasn't gone. They had transcended, becoming part of the very fabric of existence. They existed everywhere, in the stars, in the void, in the unseen threads connecting all life. "But will you return?" Jura asked, her voice trembling. "Will we ever see you again?" The figure paused, its glow softening. "In time, yes. When the galaxy has grown strong enough to join us, we will reunite. Until then, carry our message. Teach others the value of balance, curiosity, and unity." As suddenly as it began, the vision faded, and the crew found themselves back aboard the Ecliptica. The ship's systems rebooted automatically, and the golden chamber of the singularity sphere vanished from their sensors. It was as if the sphere itself had decided its purpose was fulfilled. For now, for days afterward, the crew remained silent, each lost in their thoughts. Cale spent hours staring at the stars, replaying humanity's words in his mind. They hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They had entrusted it to those who came after. And now that responsibility rested on his shoulders. When they finally returned to known space, the galaxy greeted them with mixed reactions. Some hailed them as heroes. Others accused them of hoarding power. But Cale ignored the noise, focusing instead on implementing their plan. Under his guidance, select civilizations began receiving fragments of humanity's knowledge, tools to heal, innovate, and grow. Years passed, and the changes rippled outward. Wars ended, alliances formed, and new ideas flourished. Through it all, Cale kept humanity's promise alive. To guide without controlling, to inspire without dominating. One night, standing alone on the observation deck of the Ecliptica, Cale whispered into the void, "We'll be ready when you come back." Somewhere beyond the stars, humanity heard and waited. Years had passed since Calverin and his crew returned from the singularity sphere, their lives forever changed by what they had witnessed. The galaxy, too, was different now, transformed in ways both subtle and profound. Humanity's legacy, carefully shared under Cal's watchful eye, had sparked a wave of progress across civilizations. Ancient rivalries gave way to cooperation, and once barren worlds blossomed with new life as advanced technologies healed ecosystems and united fractured societies. Yet, not everything went smoothly. Some factions resisted change, clinging to old fears and prejudices. Others abused humanity's gifts, using them for greed or conquest. But even amidst these challenges, hope persisted. The seeds sown by Cal's efforts continued to grow, inspiring countless beings to dream of something greater than themselves. Cale himself became a legend, a quiet, enigmatic figure who rarely sought recognition, but whose actions shaped the course of history. He retired from active exploration, choosing instead to live aboard the Ecliptica, now converted into a mobile archive preserving humanity's story. Scholars, diplomats, and explorers visited frequently, seeking guidance on how best to honor humanity's vision while avoiding its mistakes. One evening, as Cale stood alone on the observation deck, he noticed something unusual, a faint glimmer in the distance, pulsing rhythmically like a heartbeat. At first, he thought it might be a malfunction in the ship's sensors, but then the signal grew stronger, resonating deep within him. It felt familiar, like an echo of the voices he'd heard years ago. "Captain," Jura called softly from behind him. She had remained part of the crew, her loyalty unwavering despite the passage of time. "Do you see that?" Cale nodded slowly, his breath catching in his throat. "It's them." The light expanded, filling the viewport with a radiant glow. Within moments, the ecliptica was enveloped in warmth, and the same shimmering forms that had appeared in the singularity sphere reemerged. This time, however, they were clearer, more solid, more present. "You've done well," one of the figures said, its voice layered with gratitude and pride. "The galaxy grows stronger because of your efforts." Kale bowed his head slightly, overwhelmed by emotion. "We try to honor your trust, but there's still so much work to do. And you will continue," the figure replied gently. "But know this, we are always here, watching, guiding. You are never alone." As suddenly as they had arrived, the forms began to fade, dissolving back into the stars. Yet their presence lingered, not just in Cal's mind, but in the hearts of everyone touched by humanity's legacy. In the years that followed, stories spread of strange phenomena across the galaxy. Lights appearing in the sky during moments of crisis, whispers heard in times of doubt, and solutions arriving when hope seemed lost. These signs reminded all sentient beings that humanity hadn't truly walked away. They had become part of the cosmos itself, eternal guardians of the path forward. Kale lived out his days knowing he had played a small but vital role in bridging two eras, one marked by humanity's departure and another defined by the galaxy's evolution. As he gazed at the stars one final time before passing peacefully in his sleep, he smiled. Humanity would return someday. And when they did, the galaxy would be ready. For now, though, the universe held its breath, waiting for the next chapter to unfold.